Hi, welcome to Creating with Crossley. Today we're going to learn how to collage. We're going to be mixing a few different things. So collage is just using different elements of something else and mixing them all together to make a new piece of work. So I used collage and I mixed it with a painting, and I'll show you that here in just a second. And I know because everybody's at home that your supplies are going to be a little different, so I'm going to give you some different kinds of options that you can use for your project. So this is the project I made. It has magazines, and all of that was found in different magazines. And then I painted the fox on top of the canvas as well. So for this project, you need a background. So for ours, we're going to use another canvas. It's just a canvas board. Nothing about it's fancy. If you don't have a canvas board, you are always more than welcome to use, paper. You can, as long as it's a little bit thicker paper, you don't want to use like computer paper. That would just not work so well. You could use cardboard. That's another really good backing for collage. So, and then you're going to need some magazines. If you don't have access to magazines, you can always use newspaper. And if you don't have access to newspaper, usually you can go to a grocery store, and on the outside of it, you're going to find, like those free newspapers. Those would work just fine. Any of those kind of options, but you have to have something else for the background. What you don't want to do is you can't do a collage with, just working on your own. So you need to have some other kind of thing. You could also use, say, old pictures if that's what you wanted to do. You could use just any kind of imagery that you find. Okay. So some other supplies you're going to need are paint. You can use watercolor paints. You can use acrylic paints. You'll need some paintbrushes. I use just a good old paper plate for my paint palette. You also are going to need some type of glue. I like glue sticks. I'm a fan. If you don't have glue sticks, regular glue is also fine. A pencil, eraser, and then probably some scissors also. So the very first thing you want to do is you want to decide on an image. So my image that I chose is going to be a cupcake. I chose a cupcake because I'm going to make this for my daughter, and she really loves cupcakes. She really likes anything sweet. So you want to draw on your board. So if your board is cardboard, draw right on top of that. If you're using, a canvas board or a canvas, you're just going to draw. And what it is we're not going to waste our time with covering that space with magazines. We're going to actually leave that space empty. All right, so here's our real basic drawing of a cupcake. Now, the nice thing about this is I know I'm going to paint this, so I kind of added, where my pleats are and just kind of how I'm going to have my swirls coming up. So this part is done. I'm going to be working around this, so I just wanted to make sure that I had my drawing done beforehand. So the next thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and grab your magazines. Okay, and you have all these different magazines, and some of them have really lovely textures. You want to avoid cutting out anything that looks like an object, okay? So I went ahead and went kind of through this first. So this dress is really cool, and I really like the texture of it. You could also, have something along the lines of, like if you use these flowers, that'd be great, but they're going to look like flowers. So unless that's what you want to do, I don't suggest doing something like that. And then we got, love magazines, these cupcakes. And so I really like kind of how this frosting is. And I think that's a nice choice. So I could cut those out also. And I also really like this kind of pattern, but when I cut these out, I want to make sure that it doesn't look like a kite, because that's what those are. I want to make it to where it doesn't look like that object. So I went ahead and pulled some earlier. Okay. And this is what I kind of have, and I cut them out. And I just have, simple pink, and I have a blue, and then I have this textured pink, which I thought was really cool. So I cut these out of the magazine, but I don't want them to be perfectly crisp edges. I like the rougher edges, so I'm actually just going to tear these. And I'm going to tear it, even on this straight edge, I'm going to tear it off. Now, if you tear it towards you, you're going to end up with this little white section. Okay, if you don't like the white section, you can flip it upside down and tear it the other way. And what it does is it creates not a white section. So I like the white section, so I'm going to keep it going towards me. And I'm just going to kind of rip these into pieces. like this. These are no good for me anymore, so I'm just these little scraps, so I'm gonna just chunk those in the trash. So this is one piece that's ready to go, and then, you know, I would take this and I would do some more pieces with it, and I would, you know, get it going. And then once I have, you know, a really good amount of pieces, then I'm gonna start gluing this onto my cupcake. So I would take this piece, and it's nice and flat. I'm gonna lay it right up against this edge, okay? And so I'm going to use some type of scrap paper for what I'm gluing. Okay, you don't wanna just glue all over your parents' table or anything like that. So I'm gonna take this is scrap paper. And I always wanna glue all the way around the edges. This is a brand new glue. So like this, okay? The center is never really that important, so my center is not even glued. And I will take it and I would glue it down like so, okay? And when you're collaging something, you want pieces to overlap, okay? So I have, you know, my other fabric piece that's right here that I really like, and it's really big, so maybe I would actually go ahead and, you know, rip it into a smaller section. And then I could overlap this one, and conveniently it kind of loops right around with that curve. That was not intentional, but it worked out great. So again, I'm going to go around the edges, and I'm going to glue this one down as well, keeping it around that curve like I had. And then you'll just continue this process, okay? I also cut out these other like cake shape, and here's a macaroon, and another little cupcake, and here's a popsicle. So once I'm done with my collage, I'll actually layer these on top as well, so that they kind of, you know, like, oh, here's a popsicle. That, like, oh, there's a popsicle, and then maybe I'll have the macaroon up here, and then my cake might be over here. So I'll just kind of layer these along with it. And I did that earlier with my fox as well. I actually have flowers that I layered on top and a cactus, and it's over here also. So let me show you what the end result, once you're done collaging, the background will look like. So this is the final project. So I went ahead and collaged the whole thing, and this was another fox that I drew, and here's some flowers that I added extra on top. Now you can notice that this is a little whitewashed. So I actually took some white paint and diluted it with water, which diluting means just adding a whole bunch of water to it, and I mixed it up, and then I painted right on top. Now that you don't have to do that at all. I am a fan of just this kind of look. And then I didn't do that with the flowers that I added. So if I was working on the cupcake, for example, here's the cupcake, and I finished the background, maybe I whitewash it, and then I would have these sitting on top so that they're a little bit more noticeable. It's really up to you. Now I'm not going to show how to paint. I feel like everybody's teacher kind of teaches differently, and it's hard to teach painting over the internet. So with painting, you know, just have fun with it. You know, practice is always going to be your best bet. If you mess up, what's great is you can always paint on top of it. If you're watercoloring this, it'll turn out just fine as well. You know, I would highly suggest doing some type of outline. So my finished product, I'm going to show it to you one more time. This is the one I did earlier. Looks like this. Okay, this is just acrylic paint. It's really great. It also is whitewashed. It's not quite as dark as the other one was. So again, just have fun. It's, you know, it's just a fun project. Remember that you can mix it up to whatever your little heart desires. You know, you can do animals, you can do anime, you can do food, you can do just flowers, whatever you want, and have fun with it. Thank you so much for joining me with Creating with Crossley. I really hope you have a good grasp now on what collage is. Don't forget just to have fun with whatever you're doing. And remember that whatever supplies you have around the house will work, you know, whether it's cardboard or if it's a thicker sheet of paper, if it's canvas, and then whether you're using magazines or newspapers. And I also failed to mention earlier in the video that if you don't have paint lying around, you can always use markers or colored pencils as well. Any of those kinds of media will work just fine. So enjoy, have fun, and I really wish I could see all of your great creations.